on this arm, I wanted to show you this really fun technique. I love embroidery. I love all things embroidery. This is using threads and beads. And this is the feather stitch, which is another one of my favorite little stitches that I use a lot. So I'm going to show you how to create this particular design. If you want to mark it, a lot of people do prefer kind of having a line showing where they want the feathery stitch to go. You can use a water-soluble or an air-dry pen and draw that. I kind of like to just meander as I'm going just to, create my own little look. So what I have done is I have threaded an embroidery needle with some embroidery thread. And you do need to put a knot at the very end. And this is 3 strands. This probably would have worked with 2 or even 1 because this is a thicker thread. But I decided I wanted a really dense look on my little vine. So I'm using 3 strands of embroidery floss. So I'm going to anchor this up here at the joint because I know I'm going to hide that with the beaded ball. And because I have a knot, it could hold, but I still like to do another little stitch because I don't want this to ever come loose. So now I'm going to start my feather stitch. So I've anchored. So feather stitch, you can find how to do it in a lot of embroidery books, but I like to do the right, left. So I've got my anchor here. Now I've come over to, let's say, point, I've anchored at A. I've come over at B, come out at C. And I'm going to pull that. And you'll see this in a lot of embroidery books and magazines on how to do the feather stitch. They have the A, B, and C. So now I'm going to go on the other side. So I want to come, a little over this way, going in at B, coming out at C again, and pulling that. And you're just going to keep meandering. You can make them shorter, longer, just kind of depends on the look that you want. And of course the thread loves to get hung up with her fingers. And there's just no way of getting around that. You can also notice, see, it's not attached, the arm is not attached to the doll yet. It's much easier to do all this work before the arms are attached. I do the same with the legs. The legs I won't put together or put on her until her shoes are done. So I'm just going to meander a little bit like this, back and forth. And I'm just going to do a few more just so you get the feel of this. And I'm going to start turning my arm because I want to come around, and I'm probably going to wrap around the arm like I did on Bernadette. So now I have my feather stitch. I want to add a little pop. So as you can see on Bernadette, I've added some beads to the feather at the end of each of the feather points. So I'm going to thread up a needle with some beading thread. I already have it. And I will anchor again up at that joint up here so that that is hidden eventually by the bead. Okay. I'm going to come in and go out at the end, the point of that feather. Pick up a bead, go into the fabric, come over to the other feather, pick up another bead, go into the fabric, and over to the other feather. And I'll just do that all the way along my design. Now this is after I have completed the entire feather, but you can see how that just adds so much to the embellishment on the arm. When I got down to her hand, I wanted to give her a ring. And so you can see on her fingers here, that I've added a little crystal to the end. I've wrapped the thread around, the embroidery floss around to create the look of a ring, and then added a crystal at the end. And again, you would go through the crystal, add a stop bead back into the crystal, and that anchors it. And I will show you how to do her fingernails too, because I decided she needed to have very sparkly fingernails. So the next thing I'm going to do is over on this arm, on her tattoo, or tat as they're called these days, I'm going to show you how to stamp on the arm and then how to do the beadwork to create that really beautiful look that she has on this particular arm.